All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. Everyone please stand if you can. Pledge allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
All board members are present and accounted for.
All right, before we do the approval of the agenda, a couple of guidelines here tonight. Anybody that's going to speak, please come up to the, if you want to speak, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and we should be able to pick your audio up from there. It'll be pretty hard to pick it all the way up in the back of the room. This mic is good, but it's not that good. We're gonna have a couple of items to discuss first. There's one change that we need to make, and that's item 11C, and that has to do with the rezoning request on a parcel on Middle Road, your Hickory Ridge Road. The applicant is asked to have that postponed till a later date. Then there's three other items that we need to address. There's a budget amendment for ARPA grant money, fire station number 2 low voltage bid, and then there's also a swearing in for a new firefighter. I think he's probably back there hiding somewhere. There he is.
For Rick, I guess make them aware that if they are here for that one, rezoning is on the state.
Yeah,
they're aware of that. I mean, it makes sense with me, but.
And if you want to go home and have dinner and pick it up on Zoom, we're also on Zoom. So it's your prerogative. Thanks for coming.
If you're here for that rezoning.
So what I'd like to do is I'd like to make the swearing in for the new firefighter items 7C, which is part of the presentation that goes to the fire stuff. I'd like to make the budget amendment for the ARPA grant 11K and the fire number 2 low voltage bid 11L. And I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so
I approve the agenda as corrected.
Support.
all right, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mr. Howe,
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Yes.
Mrs. Frederick. Yes. I vote yes. Mr. Salvia,
So yes.
Mrs. Lewis. Yes. Mr. Hamlin.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
State your names. Vote.
No,
Yeah, because there's people on the.
I just said their name.
They need to hear them vote, so. All
You
right,
did it, Joe.
next item is consent agenda approval.
I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Cooper,
Yes.
Mrs. Frederick. Frederick, yes. Kirk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia.
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis.
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe.
Oh, yes.
Mr. Hamlin.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
We'll get it.
Okay, announcements and information. Highland Township offices will be closed on Monday, 2/20/22 in observance of my birthday.
Oh, it is too.
I never had that happen before. Actually, President's Day, so Supervisor's Day, President's Day, same thing.
Supervisor Hamlin, can I add 2 announcements?
Yep.
The Highland Downtown Development Authority is hosting their volunteer fair March 23rd. And we're always looking for volunteers. So we'll have booths there if you want to come and see where you can volunteer at. And the 205 West Livingston, the annex, the Art Council building. And then also, I know no one wants to hear this, but winter 2021 taxes are due without penalties or interest to the township by Monday, February 14th by 5 p.m. And the last day that Highland Township can accept 2021 taxes is Monday, February 28th. After that, you'll have to pay at the county. That was it.
All right. I'd like to I mean, we've been through a lot with 2 years of COVID, and there's been a lot of people that may have lost friends, relatives, other people, so on and so forth. I'd like to take a moment of silence, and there's a couple people that, because of our position in the community, that I'd like to let people know. Dennis Powers, who was a trustee, passed away a few weeks ago from COVID.
He was a trustee?
Yep. He's also a judge and
And a veteran.
served the community for a long time. Another one was Bill Bullard, who was a trustee here.
He was a supervisor.
And he was a supervisor in it, but, you know, so I'd like to take a moment.
Dennis is also a veteran too.
Yeah.
Dennis is a veteran.
All right, so all those that have lost their lives from this. All right, thank you. Okay, next item is presentation by the VFW for Law Enforcement Candidate of the Year. You guys like to
I did get an official one.
step forward?
We're here to honor Officer Sheriff there, Ken. Ken Hiller, he was nominated by his lieutenant and everything, and I could read everything, but it's probably not all true, you know. But this is probably bad for me to try to read this, being blinder in the back.
I got glasses.
You need some
Your
help?
lieutenant, since you're the nominee.
The young guy with eyes you can see.
Yeah.
All right. This law enforcement award is presented to Ken Hiller in grateful recognition of unyielding adherence to the highest ideals in law enforcement and maintaining, preserving, and protecting the lawful rights of all citizens by the veterans of foreign affairs, wars of the United States. It goes 9914 for 2021.
Where's our camera?
Also, I'm gonna present, Ken with a check for $200 so he can take his favorite lieutenant and maybe his favorite supervisor out to lunch.
Oh, geez.
Who are those guys?
This is all the lies that you wrote. That's for you, but
I got the day off on February 21st. Ken left us for a while. You moved to Parma, or do you still live in Parma? And he did this thing that I thought was really cool. He worked for the railroad. And I guess in the, what do you call the switching yard, is that?
I ran freight from Battle Creek to Chicago and back.
Okay, so anyways, he retired once to go do that and missed his job so much he wanted to come back to Highland. It was really Highland that did it. It wasn't Lieutenant Snyder, it was Highland that made him want to come back, even though he lives way away from here. He's been committed to this community for a lot of years, and you've done a great job. And you've always had such a super attitude. I mean, I don't know anybody that's ever, there might be a couple of people that had an issue with you, but it was for something else. But so I want to tell you how much we appreciate your service to our community for so many years. So thank you very much. Okay, so now we've got a couple of items. There's a Firefighter of the Year. We're going to do 2 years because 2 years went somewhere off into the COVID world. So Chief Chapman will handle that.
Showing you and then,
Because you get to pin this.
There's your.
As the supervisor said, much like every other aspect of life, COVID has affected our annual ceremonies. It's my honor to acknowledge our department's firefighters of the year for both 2020 and 2021. Once the presentations are made tonight, their names will be added to Robert Gregory Firefighter of the Year plaque, which is on the outside of the wall of the training room. For those of you that don't know, in 1987, there was a tragedy that struck our area. 3 firefighters, one from Milford, one from Highland Township, and one from Highland were killed in the training exercise in Milford. Robert Gregory was our firefighter. And to memorialize Mr. Gregory, we named our firefighter of the year after him. And as you walk, if you walk out of the training room here, you'll see on the wall, every name since 1987 is on that list. So I start off with the first one. Can you flip her, please?
Yes.
George. It is my pleasure to recognize Fire Lieutenant Robert Young as the 2020 Highland Township Fire Department's Firefighter of the Year. Rob began his time in the fire service as an explorer with Highland Fire Department. After graduating from Milford High School, he hired on with Milford Fire Department, where Rob spent 13 years, achieved all the minimum requirements outlined by the state of Michigan, Firefighter 1 and 2, EMTB. He continued his fire education, receiving certification as Fire Officer 1, 2, 3, as well as NIMS, Ice Rescue Technician, and Arch Protection courses. Rob left Milford in 2012, later moving into Highland, where we were fortunate enough to have Rob apply for our department in 2016. He has been very straightforward his entire time here. Any issues we have experienced throughout our department's development, or with issues we've had throughout our department's development, the biggest benefit he provides is when he identifies a problem, he offers a solution. One of our biggest complaints was our probationary training system and its lack of continuity. His solution was an all-inclusive, web-based training program on our Google Docs platform. It covers probationary schedule, specified time period to achieve each level, standard operating sheets for each piece of equipment in our department, as well as vehicles, teaches them how to use and maintain, educational requirements, including Firefighter 1 for probationary EMT, HTFD driving schedules, and HTFD mini academies. He has assigned 6 field training officers, which are 6 experienced firefighters. They guide each probationary in their process, and then he has a probationary review schedule. Research, documentation, information entry into the Google platform was all done by Lieutenant Young. His program has enabled us to mold the next generation of Highland Township firefighters, and we are very proud of what we are producing this day. Just like most of my staff, Rob has a full-time job and a family. With him tonight is his wife, son Ethan, daughter Brianna, and his mother Pam Aubrey. Anybody else? He works regular shifts at the department, attends training, and is an advisor for the FTO program currently. Please join me in recognizing Fire Lieutenant Robert Young as the 2020 Highland Township Firefighter of the Year.
More to the middle.
There you go.
There we go.
Please go.
All right, thank you. For 2021, our firefighter's not able to be here tonight. He's feeling a little under the weather. With us having fire-based EMS, my guys are exposed to a lot of stuff. Not only being exposed to a lot of stuff, just the stress and temperature changes and going from hot to cold. Hopefully it's just a cold or flu. But it is with great pleasure to recognize firefighter paramedic Michael Becker as the 2021 Highland Township Firefighter of the Year. Mike began his journey in 2001 when he was hired by Milford Township Fire Department again. Over the past 20 years, Mike has pursued countless training and education programs to better his skills. For much of his career as a fireman, Mike also worked for Star EMS. In 2006, he began working EMS and became one of the most knowledgeable and skilled paramedics I've ever seen in 35 years. Mike came to Highland in 2013. He has taken an active role in our department, working both shifts and on any of a dozen committees he has been involved with. In his current role as one of our full-time employees, he has become my right hand for many of the web-based programs we utilize. As new people hire on, he puts them into the township server, sets them up on the Google platform. He puts them into Active 911, which is our alerting system. Puts them into Image Trend, which is our web-based fire reporting system. Lexipol, many other computer programs, which I am not even close to smart enough to understand or be able to put them into. As many of you know, we recently transitioned to the primary transport agency for the township. Mike's experience has made him invaluable. He helps guide new paramedics and EMTs, provides in-house training classes, and has taken an active role assisting Captain George, to my right here, our EMS coordinator. Mike is currently enrolled in an EMS instructor coordinator course. His intention is to take a more active role in the EMS operations and possibly take over for Captain George. Mike currently represents Highland Township Fire Department as one of our 2 members assigned to Oakland County's Hazardous Materials Response Team, one of 3 specialty teams, Hazmat, Tech Rescue, and IMT from Mavis 3201, which encompasses 30 departments in the county. Mike juggles all his responsibilities on top of being a wonderful family man. His wife Sierra, daughter Isabella, and his 2 newest children, Aria and Deacon. Please join me in recognizing firefighter paramedic Michael Becker as the 2021 Highland Township Firefighter of the Year.
All right, the next item is swearing in of a new firefighter.
Oh,
Surprise.
all right.
While he's finding the spiel on this laptop, if you're looking at me in front of whatever that room is there on that iPad, it's a false image behind the setup. It's actually looking at me from my laptop. So we're using Zoom to be the camera for the board, and I've pinned that camera to this laptop so that when you watch it on YouTube, you'll see the board. So there's technology for it.
Ted's law.
Yeah. All I heard is wah, 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 wah. It's my pleasure to announce a member of our department to progress from the probationary firefighter rank to the operations rank. Firefighter Paul Otlewski, badge number 221. Again, on average, it takes roughly 12 to 18 months to achieve the required certification to the state of Michigan for firefighter 1 and 2 and emergency medical technician. Logging hours of vehicle operation and EMT community and operations competency testing. To put this into perspective, each candidate must complete 700 hours of training, maintain a minimum of 15% response to calls while juggling their careers and family life. I'd like to take this this moment to recognize Paul for completing that journey. Paul is a registered nurse. Even though he's a registered nurse, he still had to go through the EMT program. I don't understand why, because he worked in the ER for a number of years, but he's been a nurse for 22 years. Paul spent 6 years in the Marine Corps. and he's been at the VA hospital for the last 14 years. With him tonight is his wife, Rebecca, Alexandria, son John Paul, Bernadette, Xavier, and Edmund. If we can have a real quick swear in, I'll have his son present his helmet to him.
All right, raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this state,
and the Constitution of this state,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and I will faithfully perform the duties
of firefighter in and for the Township of Highland,
firefighter in and for the Township of Highland,
County of Oakland, and State of Michigan,
County of Oakland, and State of Michigan,
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I just want to take a brief second because we talked a little bit about how COVID has affected our life. We all see on TV where the hospital is just being inundated with COVID type emergencies. Again, Paul works for the hospital, the VA hospital. He's been there for a number of years. With all the hours that are required to get through the probationary process and do our job, plus going to school and everything else that he's had to do. And if you heard me call out 5 names for kids, I don't know how he does it. Again, the program that Rob's created is just, it's given us some stellar firefighters. And Paul's just one of them, along with all these guys in the back of the room. It just never ceases to amaze me what we're building here. So thank you, Paul.
Wife Rebecca, without her support and support of the entire Township Fire Department, I would not be here today. So I thank everyone.
So, anybody here for the next item? Public comment. I'm just trouble.
That we have the change in agenda. Some of them want to late.
Okay, so some of you may or may not have heard that there's a change in the agenda. The applicant for the request for rezoning of the parcel on Middle Road, north of Middle Road. That has been postponed until a later date. Applicant wanted to look at some other alternatives, and so we're gonna work with that. So if you're here for that, you don't have to stay. Otherwise, we'll move on to public comment. Now, public comment, you'll have 3 minutes if you've got something to say. This is about anything. I mean,
We got the public hearing coming.
yes. So if you're here for the gate issue, you can save it until
Public hearing.
the public hearing for that. So if there's any basic public comments, you can make those down.
Yeah, this is Bill Anderson here. I live up on the Saddle Ridge. A comment here. I see all of the board sitting there in front of their PCs. How come they are not joining us on the Zoom meeting other than a large view that we see with you in the middle?
Well, it's the way that Zoom works. What I'm using is a iPad that's actually filming the board. And so I've pinned the board to my laptop that's on the desk in front of me. The laptop in front of me actually has a visual of me looking at you. And so you're only going to see me in this thing until you view it on the YouTube, and it'll come up with an image of the board. So that's how I'm getting the recording. And then the other reasons behind it is because I did it last month. It worked extremely well. I think the volume was good. You know, you're just not going to see me in particular is what you're gonna have to put up with, but hopefully you'll get the audio on it. And then if you want to revisit it, you'll be able to watch the board at that time. I can't pin it any other way that I know of. Unless, Justin, do you know of anything you can do on that?
I think the spotlight for everyone does that.
Okay, spotlight for everyone. Where would that be at?
I just did it.
Okay, does
For everyone.
everybody looking at the board? There we go, something new every day. Justin, you're the man. We'll send over some
We're gonna put that on.
chicken and fries later. All right, thank you. Okay, so we'll call it close to the public hearing.
I think there's more on Zoom too.
Oh, okay, let's get the Zoom.
ahead. Lynn, did you have something to say? I thought they would.
That Lynn Hansford.
Carl Early was also wanted to speak at some point.
Yeah, I was for the gate issue.
Okay, so you can come back then. Thank you.
Yep, I'll let you know. Thank you.
Lynn isn't responding, so I'm guessing that's.
I'm also here for the gate issue.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Mr. Salvia.
I would like to thank the fire department and the EMS for responding to my grandson, Nicholas Ross. We got a call that he might have stopped breathing, and my wife and I raced over there. The EMS team was already there, and I believe Becker was in charge of that command, and the 3 or 4 assistants with him did a great job trying to calm him down. He was fighting like a gorilla. And so please express our thanks from our family for the great work they did in taking him, getting him down the stairs and into the EMS vehicle. That's an excellent. Thank you.
Very well.
Well done.
Thank you, Joe.
Not only do I know we have a great team, but I've witnessed their work. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, any more general public comment? All right, let's move on to the next item. Item 9A, this is a public hearing. It's a public hearing to request for revision of use requiring special approval 21-02 parcel 1120-278-000. Open space at northeast corner of Cobblestone, northwest corner of Timber Ridge. Applicant property owners Cobblestone Condominium Association, and the request is installation of a gate at the public-private road boundary on Pine Bluffs Court between Cobblestone and Timber Ridge to close road to through traffic. So we're going to open the public hearing at 6:58. All right, we will entertain public comment. If you're here in the audience, please, anybody who wants to come up, please step forward. Got 3 minutes.
Rick, we have at least 2 people that want to make public comments on Zoom, and Miss Elizabeth Sokol is here on behalf of the applicant as well, just so you know.
Okay, so we'll do the ones that came to the meeting in person first, and then we'll get to the Zoom. All right?
Should I just come up?
Just step up here and
My name's Elena Peterson, and I lived in Timber Ridge until when it opened, and there was like no cobblestone yet. And so they ended up opening the road back. And like I stated before in our first meeting, that we asked, like, why is the road being opened? And we were told that the fire department at the time said there must be 2 exits to all subdivisions in case there's a fire, so that other people can, go in and out, and other emergencies, so that had to be open for just that reason. Also, the school, the bus goes through there, there's bus stops. They pick up our kids, pick up their kids. And I just feel like closing this, even if we don't ever go through there again, it's just for like emergency purposes. I just feel like this just needs to be open. And they really have no idea how many, people, like if we're Timber Ridge or if they're Cobblestone people. I mean, I work at Milford, and they say, I've had several students come to me and they actually live in Cobblestone, and they're like, Mrs. Peterson, they're like, people in our subdivision have literally stopped our car and said, go back to your own subdivision, and they're like, we live there, and they tell us this. I've had students that live in our subdivision who go to see friends use that entrance or the road in the back, where they've had people stop them in the road, made them turn around to only go back through our subdivision to go down there in their subdivision and go down the same street. I mean, who does this? Who's got the time to do this? You know, it's just like, and I just don't understand that. What people do that? You know, you can't stop people from coming down your road. They've had so many more houses that have been built there and so much more traffic that literally is not ours. You know, they can't prove that we go through there all the time. So I just feel like for emergency purposes, this should not be closed. And thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Anybody else in the audience?
Hey, my name is Nick Cliff. I live at 497 Timber Ridge. Thank you guys all for being here and spending your evenings doing this as well. My biggest thing is like, why now? We built this neighborhood 20 plus years ago. The owners of Cobblestone at the time knew that the road was going in as a private road with public access at the time. Everybody agreed to it. A lot of people at the original meeting were original owners, as they stated, didn't have a problem with it then, but now all of a sudden it's causing a major concern. So I just ask, like, if just this entrance, why not all of them? Like, if you want to keep everybody off of your roads, gate every single one of your entrances and prove that you need to keep people off of your roads because it's deteriorating them too quickly or whatever the case may be. From an emergency standpoint, as Elena had mentioned, I feel that some type of impact will be brought upon response times. If a fire truck or an ambulance needs to get through that gate, I'm assuming they don't just drive through it. They have to physically get out of their vehicle, unlock this gate, and then drive through it. And then who locks it back up? Who's responsible at that point? The school buses, as they mentioned at the last meeting, they've written a letter. They've stated that they're already struggling to find bus drivers, as we know, putting that strain on them, having to turn around and go back out to 59, or causing the kids in the neighborhood, both neighborhoods. I mean, you're a mile deep into that neighborhood by the time you get to the back of it. Are you going to have kids walking a mile up to the front of the neighborhood on 59 to go get picked up? I just don't see how that could be feasible or responsible for us as a community to do that. See if I have any other points. Oh, the biggest, I guess, complaint was that people were cutting through to avoid the light at M59. Well, you can do that through Timber Ridge, but you can also go in right off of 59 and cut the light. So if I want to cut the light, I'm going to go through that neighborhood regardless. Like, unless you gate the entire neighborhood, that's the only way you're going to keep the public out. So my biggest thing is the kids. I just, the safety of the kids going out to 59. I don't even like walking out there. Like, I'm 20 feet off of the road, but we've all been out there. It's like NASCAR at 5 o'clock. It's just ridiculous. So I appreciate you guys all listening. Give me a few minutes of your time, and thank you.
Thank you. Next one.
Hello. Tim and Tanya Miller. We also live in Timber Ridge.
Need
We're actually,
your
I'm sorry,
address.
2280. Pine Brook.
Thank you.
We're actually on the street in question. We're right, the gate would be like between our property and the first house in Cobblestone. We're the last house there. I mean, we see every day. I'm home during the day. I see the amount of traffic. Even if the complaint is that there's too much traffic into the other sub, us driving that way, there isn't. I mean, we don't get an overabundance of people driving back and forth in front of our home. When I come in every evening, it's not uncommon for someone to be behind me, follow me all the way to the back of the sub, and then continue into Cobblestone. They use that entrance as much as we do. I'm for it. I think it's a beautiful sub. We moved in there. I used to live in Pine Bluffs. And so we've been in two of the three subs. It's a beautiful neighborhood. I think everyone should be able to come and go as they please. To me, it's going to cause so many problems to put a gate there, not to mention the eyesore. But the busing situation is one of the biggest ones. And if you shut that neighborhood down, like a lot of people have said, if you gate the whole Cobblestone community, that still causes a huge problem. I mean, it was designed for the buses to go through. And at this point, same thing. I have a school age kid, and he's going to have to walk all the way up to they're saying that they're not gonna come in our sub anymore. They're gonna have to pick up children on 59. That's unacceptable. And who's gonna buy my house? No family is ever gonna buy my home either if their children have to be picked up at the front of the sub on a busy road. Yeah. I mean, that's gonna cause a whole issue there too. Not to mention that the third sub there connected is called Pine Bluff. They have a court there, it's called Pine Bluff. But our street down in Timber Ridge is called Pine Bluff's Court. And there is a court there, but I have seen, and I'm sure EMS or GPS is great, but I have literally gone and stopped EMS that has gone back and forth, going, what are you looking for? I mean, you put a gate there and somebody's gonna be delayed getting to where they're going. So.
And if speeding is an issue, there's other ways to address speeding. I don't think it's the amount of traffic, because the many is the people that live in the backside of Cobblestone, including our neighbors who are Cobblestone people, they come through our subdivision. So, there's no traffic study, there's nothing to back up that claim. If they want to do that. So there are other ways to address the speeding issue.
Everybody could stand to slow down.
Yes.
And that's the issue we should maybe be talking about, not throwing up a game.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, next.
Hello, I'm Greg Lewandowski. I'm 500 Timber Ridge Drive. So I'm not going to hopefully take very much time. I'm here for support, and I agree with everything they said. So that's why I just here, and I figured I'd come up and just let you know while I'm here. I don't think that this is a great idea, and I'm not going to reiterate what they said. One thing I was thinking about as I'm sitting here is we moved in about a year and a half ago during the pandemic, and we joined a community. We moved into Highland because of the community. And I think that's one thing that, as lame as it might sound, is we would kind of lose with the gate on top of everything else is the community. The fact that I drive through that area slowly. I normally do about 20. I take my time when I go through there. My in-laws live on the other side of about 3 miles from our house. So I do go through there. And I take the kids and we look at all the lights in our own area. We look at the lights through there. We also see Halloween. We'll go and look at all the houses and we'll walk it, but we also drive through periodically. And that's the one thing I would want to say too, as lame as it is, this is not a reason not to put in a gate, is for community. But I think that's something that's important and not to be forgotten as well. So that's the only additive I would say on top of everything, the smart things that they set up. So you can take the time back. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anybody else in the audience? Yes, sir.
Wally Jambeck. I live at Timber Ridge Court, and I'm just here for support. I think it'd be a big mistake to put the gate up. I agree with all those people. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, we got anybody else? Uh-oh.
I don't want to advertise.
Steve's quota.
Brady Steaks, Dave?
What's that?
Brady Steaks.
My name's Dave Valor. I'm at 420 Timber Ridge. I actually happen to be the president of Timber Ridge subdivision, and have been for many years. I guess my question is, what's the objective behind it? Because really, it doesn't make sense to me. I've dealt with, at that time, Sergeant Snyder, now Lieutenant, congratulations. We've dealt with this traffic for the 21, almost 22 years I've been there. I was the second house in the back of the sub there. And we've tried to put stop signs in. We've tried to put the speed bumps in. We've been told we couldn't do that. It's really no different than what they're trying to do. I just, with what, I'll agree with everybody, with what everybody said, it just does not make sense. There's logistics reasons that it doesn't make sense. And, it'd be a shame to have that separated like that. And, if you're gonna do it at one, then our fight would be, then you gotta do them all, right? Including the front and all the 3 different entrances you have coming in. So.
I agree with you, Dave. I live across the street from you and our road's really busy all the time. And we live on the main road. There's nothing you can do. It's.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well,
Thank you.
I don't, it's mind
I'm
boggling.
sorry, he's interrupting that. And I'm kind of surprised that there's so many.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Justin will handle it.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
So again, I guess I don't understand the whole concept of trying to shut that back entrance, exit, whatever you want to call it, because it's utilized by everybody, including people that live in Cobblestone. So we have our work ahead of us, but I think it's a terrible idea.
All right.
So thank you for your time. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
We don't have any time left. May I say one more thing?
Let's let the rest of the people.
Am I allowed to speak?
Brian, why don't we wait until we get the rest of it?
Okay.
All right, Justin, you want to try and see if you can manage letting people speak?
Okay, let's start with Mr. Early, if you will. You were the first to mention something, so go ahead, Carl.
Yeah, hi, thanks, Justin. Hello, Rick and fellow board members. I'm at 2227 Pine Bluff Court. I'm right at the corner of Timber Ridge and Pine Bluff, where the bus stop is. Before I have a comment, I do have a question. Is there a precedent for this in the township? Is there any other neighborhood or situation where there's a gate that's been put up to stop traffic? I'm just curious if there's a precedent that we could lean on for some guidance. Does anyone know?
We will discuss that further on. We're not supposed to engage in the public end of it.
Okay, all right. So my comment leans on a couple factors. Definitely the busing situation. I'm at the corner at the bus stop. It is a mile down to M59, which is a busy road. And then if you have children that are inside that last cul-de-sac, Pine Bluff Court cul-de-sac, so now you're talking about a walk of over a mile. I think that's a little bit unreasonable, though I walked a long ways when I was in school, but one of the allures of living in this community is that we pay really good taxes and have really good busing situations and great schools. So I kind of echo what that person said about values of the property. I think it does matter. I know for a fact I bought and I maintain that corner every chance I get because I know the kids need to use it. So there is value to having that. I do want the board to think about traffic that comes up and isn't aware that the gate's there. And we do see, if you know, the cobblestone is still under construction. We still have a lot of construction vehicles. They come up Timber Ridge. If that gate is closed, they're going to have to turn around there. I just see that as being a pretty big nuisance and a problem. So just something to think about when thinking about, traffic. And then I just thought, I know I have a minute, but I thought about if they really were interested in stopping that traffic on Pine Bluffs Court Road, which runs along that, that northern boundary of the subdivision, I would propose that they would move the gate. It would make much more sense. If they really want a gate to block that, then I would propose that they put the gate down at Cobblestone Run in Pine Bluffs Court, where that road veers into 2 different directions. At that location, they would get the same effect of stopping the traffic coming off Hickory Ridge, but without creating a single entrance and then that bottleneck at the end of Timber Ridge. So if they're really interested in doing that and follow the process instead of putting it up in advance, because it has been an ugly eyesore there for over a couple of years now. So that wasn't really cool. But if they really want to do that, I propose they put it there. And if you look at a map, you could put it right at that intersection and still achieve what they want, which is to stop that traffic. But that would still allow for the flow of traffic to happen in and out of both subdivisions. So just an idea there for the people to ponder. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next one, Justin.
Miss Lynn, if you would like to unmute yourself, you can have your comment now, please.
I live on Pine Bluffs Court in Cobblestone Run. My husband has been almost repeatedly run over. We moved in 5 years ago, and pretty much once a month, he tells me that, you know, he's probably going to be run over. The emergency problem, it is a knockoff gate that the police and fire would have access to. So that is not an issue. The bus drivers and all the other public access people, you know, you come in, you go out. It's not a big deal. And I don't think it's an issue for safety for children. There's probably 4 children in the whole subdivision. So I'm more concerned about my husband's well-being walking down the road. Right here, Bob, it's your turn.
The speeding's gotten ridiculous. The safety in this neighborhood is getting threatened by all of us, the drivers. The police said they can't write tickets because this is a private community. And I don't understand what people don't get about a private road. Private means private. Does that mean that I can go and trespass on your property, your private property? It's ridiculous what you people are trying to think up and have excuses for.
It is a safety issue. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
I have a quick procedural question for you, Rick. Ms. Sokol is here for a presentation. Would you like that on behalf of the people? Would you like that in the next section or this one?
If we can get everybody else to speak their piece first, then I would entertain that.
Okay, and then Mr. Michael Sveska, sorry if I butchered that, please go ahead.
Thank you, and good evening to the board. So appreciate your time this evening. You know, one comment that I'd like to make and make sure that the board recognizes is the community roads in Cobblestone are private roads, as the request indicates. And the master deed of our community provides an easement to fire, police, delivery vehicles, and that nature over those private roads. But the master deed also provides the association with the authority to determine if a particular party has an authorized beneficiary to the ingress and egress easement over our roads. Despite long-term signage and even new signage indicating the community is private and requesting others honor the private roads, as you've heard from many people tonight, that's not the case. Some people, you do use it quite often to get to Hickory Ridge. As a member of the Cobblestone community, we are shouldering the burden for our private road system, have invested over $150,000 in that segment of road system just last year, and are making other significant investments in our road system. And we're trying to maintain our road system and the value that we're putting in there to maintain the community. So while this is not the most appealing from an aesthetics perspective, it is based upon an example that does exist here in the township, which is how we came to this proposed solution. So I want to thank the board for their time tonight and ask for your careful consideration.
Thank you.
There were two comments made in chat. I don't know if you want me to read those or just mail them to you.
Let's see here. There's a Randy Paquette. Is that one of them?
Yes, that's the first one.
Okay, I'll read this. I'm Randy Paquette, a 20-year lot owner in Cobblestone subdivision, and wish to strongly support the approval of the proposed gate to separate Cobblestone subdivision from Timber Ridge subdivision. Arguments about inconveniences from the action are far less significant than the safety concerns of the residents on Pine Bluffs Court who use the roadway for walking and biking. Through traffic travels at excessive speeds, and it represents an avoidable danger. See any more on that one? Then is the next one Terry Moravchak?
Correct.
Moravchak. Terry Lynn Moravchak, 2037 Pine Bluffs Court. They're opposed to having the gate installed and the road closed. Years ago, the builder's plan for the road was approved with the understanding that the road would be an open road. Okay. Right. Who else do we have?
Mr. Jeremy Lathwell would like to make a comment. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yes, I appreciate the time. We're actually the new house on 2345 Pine Bluffs Court, right where the gate would be next to. We've definitely had, the speeding issue probably goes both ways. I will say I'm also someone that would come through Timber Ridge, which I don't quite understand what the benefit wouldn't be for them, because they would lose traffic by their children at the same time. So that's really a back and forth situation. I've lost 2 mailboxes so far. People come down the wrong way on the split highway there. It's just something where I see a benefit to both sides, I guess, as far as traffic coming into our private roads and also traffic that would stay out of their area for safety reasons, all the same, if we are deliberating children's safety and everything else. And I personally, property value wise, would know that when traffic won't go by my house, that actually raise my property value, not decrease it. But that's neither here nor there. So I am certainly in support of the gate, since I am directly present to where it goes right by all the time. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Steve Pass was next. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, thank you. I'm from 2524 Pine Bluffs Court in Cobblestone. Just to clear up a couple comments that were made. Why wait so long? Pine Bluffs Court in Cobblestone is relatively new. I'd say the majority of houses have been here 5 to 7 years or less. So it's a new scenario for us, seeing the large amount of traffic. And we need to remember that Cobblestone is unique in that we don't have a sidewalk system. So everybody, whether it be parents with strollers or people walking pets, have no choice but to walk on the streets. And that, together with a large volume of traffic, is what makes it dangerous, along with the occasional speeder. But it's not just speeding, it's the volume of traffic. And there is a precedent for this, and it's Foxfield Estates in Highland Township. And they have single egress since they put a gate up. And I did provide a 2-page document to the clerk last night. Hopefully it's been distributed with some pictures showing their gate. They've got boulders on the outside of the gate, keeping vehicles from trying to go around the gate, or preventing them from going around. They got very similar short paved sections for turning around if you end up at the end of that section and run into the gate. But they went so far as to lay gravel, cement, and grass across the street. So there's a very large bump. And so anyways, there is a precedent for this. So there's reasons, and while there's maybe logistical reasons why you might not like it from just through flow of traffic, it's a safety concern, and we're not asking anything different than hasn't been approved before in this township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pass. Mr. Paul Hodges would also like to make a comment. Paul?
Hi, thanks for
taking time with us here. My name is Paul Hodges. I live at 2260 Pine Bluffs Court. I'm on the Timber Ridge side. I'm very close to the edge of where this gate will be put up. Personally, I understand arguments both ways. There is traffic that goes back and forth, but it's not significant in my opinion. I mean, I do see delivery vehicles go more than anything. However, that's been brought up before. One thing I actually do have to question the board on this is in the previous meeting, when it was, voted to not go forward and, bring it in front of you guys, someone had mentioned that, being so many feet, I forget the exact number, off of a main road, you cannot create a dead end. And what this would do right in front of my house is it would create a dead end where cars would then turn thinking that they can go through a road that on all maps is listed as open, and then they would have to turn around. There's a little space, maybe 10 feet of cement in front of a fire hydrant where, utility trucks would be expected to turn around. That is definitely not practical. And it would create a concern. Obviously, it's an inconvenience, but what is, to the board, what does that actually mean? Would you be creating a dead end, and is that against an ordinance? Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Jim Gibson, I apologize. I kind of skipped over you, but it is your turn to speak. You can unmute yourself.
Thank you. Jim Gibson, I live at 2310 Pine Bluffs Court. I'm actually the last house in the subdivision right against where the gate would be. And I generally am opposed to the gate. I am supportive of traffic control measures. The reason why I'm opposed to the gate is from all the logistical reasons that have been brought up. Plus, I've lived here for 16 years. There is an area, an island in the middle of the road there. And even today, without a gate, I have people turning around in my driveway. And if we close that gate off, I think people will be doing that much more. And it will really affect, I think, the traffic through my driveway. Also, removal of snow, I think that's impaired already right now, let alone if we have a gate there. So generally, I'm in favor of the traffic control measures because after living here for this long, there is substantial traffic that goes through there. But generally, the logistical things have not, I don't think, appropriately been addressed. And even though the traffic may be decreased, I think net it would decrease our property value and the value of all three communities. Thank you.
Ms. Yeager, you've been unmuted for a while. Would you like to make a public comment?
Just to comment, same thing, the previous meeting, the planning committee, this was brought up, and he just brought up the snow. As we got 8 inches the other day, my concern would be if we had a gate, where are the plows plowing that snow that's now going to close that gate? So I don't care what switch any police officer has. If there's 8 inches of every snow or ambulance in front of that, that gate's not moving. And somebody's life could be at danger because of that. So I have a concern for that with the gate movement. I'm sorry, I'm at 2063 Woodridge Court. Also, I'm one of the original residents from 21 years ago, and that gate, we were told that was going to remain open. That was a selling factor, I think, for many of us. You heard that today. So that's also my concern. Also at the Planning Commission, they talked about, again, what you've just heard a couple people address, the ability to move a vehicle, a truck, and many of them are still going in and building in there into the other subdivision. How are you going to move a truck out of there? So I think, and in those 21 years, I saw at least 2 trees at 2 different times go off and close the roads in front here. There would be no way out of this subdivision. So all kind of concerns, I think we gotta look at something else besides the gate. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Thank you, Mrs. Yeager. Sarah Laffrey, please go ahead.
Hi, we live at 2078 Pine Bluffs Court in the actual court of Pine Bluffs, so we're actually, it's called the dead end. So, I mean, just like the last two people that spoke, I had similar issues just regarding snow removal for the houses that are near the gate. If the snow is going to block their driveway or how that buildup will be over in that area. Is in regards to the buses, of course, how do the buses, because normally they would go at that corner of the stop sign. How would they go for the bus stop there? Are they going to be going down the dead end into our court? So is our court going to be traffic for all buses and delivery men? That's just a lot of traffic coming to our way since there's no other outlet. Another concern is, well, one, the bus, and our kids took the buses to Milford High School, and the bus ride alone was 45 minutes. And that's with them going through Cobblestone to pick up kids from Cobblestone. So now the bus has to go back out to 59 and make an even longer bus ride. It just seems unreasonable. When this all began, I feel like we've only been here for about 5 years. And I feel like there was no real complaints going on except for a couple years ago when the construction took place on 59 for resurfacing. And that's when you heard the complaints from Cobblestone. And I can understand, I'm sure they were getting a lot more traffic through their sub at that time because of the backups on 59. But at the same time, we had a lot more traffic through our sub from people going to Cobblestone as well. So, but that was like a couple of years ago, and I don't personally see how there's that much traffic going through there. But I don't live in Cobblestone either. In regards to, it was kind of enlightening that someone mentioned that they're scared when they're on the road. My husband pointed out that obviously they don't have sidewalks, and I didn't really think about it before, but maybe that's something that they should consider getting because they do have more residents building houses there. They do have more residents, more traffic. So it might be an idea to make sidewalks to let their residents be safe. I think that's all that I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. I apologize. Mr. Pass, did you make your comment or no? Steve Pass?
Yes, I spoke.
Sorry, I lost track. Thank you. That was all I have been made aware of. Miss Wainstock had a comment in the chat about snow removal. But other than that, it's just Miss Sokol that has a comment on behalf of the applicants.
All right.
Thank you, Supervisor Hamel. I appreciate the opportunity to appear here remotely on behalf of the applicant, Cobblestone Condominium Association. The proposed gate is not a new thing. This is a situation that's reflected at Foxfield Estates and the join between Foxfield Estates and Huntington Place. And it's worked effectively there, it would seem. We have not heard of any problems. It's an IFC compliant gate, which means there is emergency access. I know that there were certain representatives of the Cobblestone Condominium Association that spoke with the fire chief about the ability to use that, and that was a recommended option in terms of gating in these types of situations. You've heard a lot about safety issues, and those are definitely important. There aren't sidewalks in Cobblestones, and we do have a lot of high-speed traffic and higher volumes than are reflective of the residents of Cobblestone alone. And the current signage that exists designating it as a private road clearly isn't doing the trick. We've heard here tonight residents from Timber Ridge saying that they're going through and that they want to keep that availability to open to them. And that sort of brings us to the second reason for the request is not just safety, but there's an economic reason. The association is responsible for all the maintenance and upkeep of the road. And as you've heard from, I believe it was the board president who spoke, and there's been a significant amount of money put into the upkeep of the road, and having additional traffic just speeds that degradation process up. We did provide a copy of the master deed with the supplement to the application so that you can see the provisions there that talk about granting an easement to any necessary emergency or utility usage, guests, deliveries. Anybody who has a reason to be in Cobblestone has the ability to use that. However, the master deed does allow Cobblestone to limit who has access, and this gate is the only way they can see at this point to be able to effectively do that. You know, it's some of the points that were made about why this gate would be an impediment seem to be apparent at the Foxfield Estates example that's already been allowed, and it doesn't seem to be a problem. There are no paved turnarounds there. There's no indication that we can see, at least, that there's been an ongoing problem there, allowing the use of that gate to limit the traffic in between the two. I think it's important to remember that, you know, not only do we have precedent in terms of the other location, but we do have real reasons here justifying this request. And I understand there's always going to be an inconvenience to somebody, but trying to balance the interests of convenience over safety, I think it's obvious that safety should win if that's the level that we're at.
We've passed the 3 minutes. We appreciate that. There's
okay.
Public comment. So, any other public comment out there? All right, if that's the case, then we're going to end the public.
I want to speak.
No, we're not going to end it. We got, we'll let Brian Howe speak. Please.
Brian Howe, I live at 2135 Woodridge Court. I've been there since '99. Moved in at the beginning, and I remember when I'm thinking a lot about this lately because we use it a lot. I've been walking and riding my bike, and I remember when we first came, when it was still land, and the houses were just, we had to go back these little paths to see the property pieces. I remember we were showing us the map and how they told us how it was going to eventually lock in and we're going to go back to the Hickory Ridge. That was really cool. How cool is that going to be? And of course, a few years ago, all of a sudden the gate was up. They're trying to put the gate up and they got a cease and desist order, I remember. And I guess my question is this, and I've been there a long time, seen a lot of traffic. If all of our traffic is going through that subdivision, then I'd like to know where all the traffic is coming down by my street. I live 2 houses off the main drag. And man, there's traffic there all the time. So if all of our traffic is going through there and cutting through, as they're saying, I don't understand because we have a lot of traffic that comes down our street and they're flying. And it's probably a lot of our residents, but they are not always, I can't believe every resident of Timber Ridge is going out the back way. I ride my bike, I walk with my wife, and I can't say they don't get fast speeds through there, but I know the time we walk a lot in the summer. I ride my bike around there a lot. Jim Peters and I used to run back there we used to run years ago. It's been a long time, but these are my neighbors over here, and I've never had, you hear the cars coming. I don't ever remember a lot of, I'm not saying they don't speed through there because they speed through our sub too, but a lot of things but I don't remember, it was not that often where you're fighting for your life. And I'm not saying you don't, because I'm sure you do, but all the incidents I've had, but I know one thing, and I keep going back to this Foxfield thing. It's a different situation over there. I've been over there a lot. It's a little different. That subdivision, the big subdivision, if you're looking north on the left, has an entrance, has an outlet in the back that goes back through there. The other one's a one street deal
with the cul-de-sac.
With the cul-de-sac at the end. So I don't know how much traffic, honestly, and I don't know, I've not done any studies, but I don't know how much traffic would ever go between those two anyways. I always thought it was kind of weird when I'd go over there. I've got some friends over there when we were campaigning. I always thought it was always kind of interesting that gate was there. That's yes, a precedent's been set, but it's a different situation. Now we're going to have one entrance and one exit out of our subs. Yes, it was a pain when I get a lot of traffic came through when they were building 59. It was a pain, but boy, is it beautiful now. And to me, on my own opinion, it just seems snobbish to me that they would shut that off. Well, that's the way I feel, because I think I wouldn't want to do the same thing. I like the idea, and I don't even drive that way very often. I walk and I ride my bike. I go out the front. But again, I can't believe there's that much traffic from our subdivision that's wrecking their roads. I'd like to know where all the traffic is in our subdivision, because there sure is a heck of a lot of cars coming down our street. So, and I get all the other things. Hello?
I'm sorry.
I'm talking. Oh, sorry. Never mind. Sorry about that. Okay. But I get all the other things. I feel bad for the people on both sides up there, because they're going to have a lot of cars turning around. And there's some really nice houses up there. It's going to be a pain. I'm glad I don't live up in that end, because I wouldn't want that. And I get it. And I get all the arguments. And I just think that the whole plan was originally, and I guess private roads, but the plan was going to be an open road all the way to the back. I thought it was a cool thing, as Terry mentioned too, by their neighbor from around the corner. So, and again, you know what, we're talking about school kids. I don't know how many kids we put on the buses anymore, but back in the day, we had a whole bus just for our subdivision. And they went up through there and all the way around, and you know, that type of thing. And I just get the whole, I don't know, I'd like to hear one of you. I just want to know what from the if it's okay, from the emergency situation, what do you?
Is that okay?
Well, we're still in public comment.
Yeah.
Right, let's finish.
Okay,
public
all right. I
comment.
just curious what you think. That's it for me. I want to speak on behalf of our neighborhood. I just think that I think it's wrong. So anyways.
Tammy.
We have one more in Zoom as well, Rick.
All right.
Mrs. Hodges, go ahead.
Hi, it's Courtney Hodges, 2260 Pine Bluffs Court on the Timber Ridge side. I just wanted to address a couple things that Ms. Sokol brought up. At the last meeting, a lot of this traffic was attributed to anecdotal on both sides. And I'm wondering, has there been a traffic study done? Also, the maintenance of roads, we live in Michigan, we salt our roads. I mean, everyone's gonna have to maintain their roads at some point. And as far as safety goes, I walked those streets in the summer. I don't feel welcome over there anymore, so I no longer do, but I never felt unsafe. I had a 3-year-old on a balance bike riding down the middle of the road all day long, and we never came across someone that was going to, quote, run us over. Also, the neighborhood that they're talking about has a precedent. We looked at a house in that neighborhood, and that gate was atrocious, and it's one of the reasons we didn't purchase a house in that neighborhood. So thank you for your time.
Welcome.
So why don't you do it not during public comment?
Yeah, that was my
Because you're part of the board.
This was, I had a comment about that particular thing, because I drive.
Can we add public
I can
comment?
wait till.
Okay, I think we've commented this to the maximum, and no offense to anybody, but we're gonna have to draw this public comment to a close. So I'm gonna end the public comment at 7:43. I'd like to thank everybody that participated in this. I don't know where to go on it. I personally, I'm flabbergasted with the process to a degree, but I will have to say up front that I was approached in, I think it was probably March of 2019, and by a person who was on the board at from Cobblestone, and they came to us and asked whether we thought there was any issue with it. So we had a conversation with Lieutenant Snyder, fire chief, fire marshal, and we looked at it and kind of made the comment, well, we don't see, quote, an impediment, but you will need to do further conversation. That's pretty much where we left off. I can't make that decision. The chief can't make that decision. Lieutenant Snyder can't make that decision. The comment is that it probably could be cut off. Would it cause severe injury to somebody? It's kind of that thing where I hate really answering that question because it only takes one death, one severe injury to be the problem. You know, so it's not like we're tossing coins here. So this is a difficult thing when you've got people that are, you know, you talk about the public road thing. I can't put it up on the screen right now, and I don't know if people can see it necessarily on your through the Zoom thing, but I have enlarged the view of the gate that's been talked about on Oakview Circle, the one that is in place. And if you look, you'll see that there's only one home on each side, which is a completely different scenario with what we're talking about here. There's multiple homes on each side of the proposed gate. In this scenario, there really are no homes on both sides because they both have access to their main roads going in and out. Anybody that lives on these courts, they have to go into the court first, and then they've got to come out, and then they've got to make a turn. All of these people with this access have immediate access to get themselves out of the subdivision. The intent of these connections is to make it so that if there is an issue or a scenario, say there's a fire halfway down the block and it blocks it off, it gives an escape route. And the township for a long time has, the whole intent of subdivisions is you get past 1,000 feet. Is it 1,000 feet or 1,300 with a cul-de-sac? You have to have, in other words, if a developer is going to build, you have to have a secondary access out. It didn't have anything to do with the township at the time of development of Timber Ridge. And it certainly seems like the whole thing was designed around those roads connecting. I mean, it was designed that way. They could have eliminated that road completely and not put it in, but obviously the developer had some conversation with the planning commission and also had some intent by putting that road in there. First intent has got four to six more homes. I don't know how many more homes are on each side of that, but you know, there's more money for the bang for the buck. So it could have been designed without it. Then there'd be no question here. So I think that there's an approach to this. We probably should do it according to Robert's rules, which is make the motion and then have the discussion. So we're going to do it that way. Lisa, you have.
Are you moving on then to 10A?
10A, yeah.
So generally you might want to give the applicant an opportunity to make their presentation without the 3-minute limit. That's what you usually do when there's a request like this. So you probably should allow Ms. Sokol, if she
Okay,
hasn't
will we
finished
send a
her presentation. What's that?
Were we sent a presentation?
Well, I just mean her oral, she's the attorney for the applicant, right?
Right, is the
She
attorney still on?
provided supplemental information to you that was not presented to the planning commission.
So if you're saying if she had more to say besides what she can say.
She
in
was
three
cut off at 3 minutes, and since she was the applicant, she really shouldn't have been cut off, but because she spoke during public comment, I think that's why it got a little confusing.
So make sure she has an opportunity to say anything that she needs to support the application.
Okay, if she has more to say.
Does your attorney have anything more to say from Cobblestone?
Thank you, Supervisor Hamel. No, I mean, I have been able to compress my comments into that 3-minute time period. I wondered about the process. I assumed I did get more time, and that's perhaps why I went a little longer. You know, but again, I would reiterate that we provided the application with documentation. We did provide a supplement. And, you know, obviously you've heard tonight from some of the specific people who are impacted by this. We would hope that the board would take those remarks into account as well. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. You should run for Congress because if you can do that in 3 minutes, you're one of the best. All right, so the correct procedural move is that I'll make a motion.
When, and then after the motion in a second, then.
Then
we can
there's
talk.
discussion.
Okay.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the request for revision of use requiring special approval 21-02 parcel 1120-278-000. This is the open space at northeast corner of Cobblestone and the northwest corner of Timber Ridge subdivisions. Applicant and property owner, Cobblestone Condominium Association, and the request is installation of a gate at the public-private road boundary on Pine Bluffs Court between Cobblestone and Timber Ridge to close road to through traffic.
Your motion is to approve the installation.
Right, in order to discuss, you need to either make a motion, make a second.
Public comment, right?
Right.
And I can talk, discuss.
Yep.
All right.
So anybody going to support this?
Can you support it and vote no?
Yeah?
Yeah, you can if you want to.
Support the voting.
No,
to
no,
install
no.
it.
That's
Part
not
of
just moving the discussion forward. Okay,
Right.
who for support?
Okay, it's been moved and supported, so we'll now have discussion on the topic.
Actually, Mr. Supervisor, could I offer some comments about the history of that gate?
Sorry.
I'd like to offer some comments about the history of the gate at Huntworth Place that is so part of this conversation tonight. When Foxfield Estates was proposed in 1992 and the roads installed, through some error or perhaps on purpose, the street stopped short of the property line. Although the plat clearly shows it going to the property line with the intent of extending it into what later became Huntwood Place. Huntwood Place's preliminary plan came in 1996, and it also shows the road coming back to meet I forget the name, Oakview Circle. But there was a gap in the pavement. And what ensued was an argument between the developer of Huntwood Place, who was not going to take one more foot past his property line. And now the homeowners and developer of the adjacent subdivision, Foxfield Estates, that didn't want to come back and complete that little bit of road. I don't know who put the gate up, and I don't know why the township didn't enforce it at the time. It was not an approved gate. It's never been an approved gate. The two subdivisions in comparison, when you look at the difference between the Foxfield Huntwood situation and the Cobblestone Timber Ridge Pine Bluff situation, Foxfield is 21 homes on a 1,000-foot cul-de-sac. The adjacent subdivision, I forget how many homes there are in there, but they do have 2 exits, although one is to a gravel road at the back of the sub. And as the supervisors pointed out, it's not really carrying a lot of traffic there. Its only purpose to be there is a connection. But its absence perhaps was just allowed to go on.
Okay, we have a technical glitch. Apparently there's either something unplugged or not plugged. My laptop decided it
We
wants
can hear you now.
to hang up. Is there anybody, Justin, are you still out there?
Yep, we're still here.
It looks like it's still recording or it's still, Zoom is still on.
We can still see you on here.
Yeah,
We can
that's
hear
because
you.
I just
We can
plugged
see
into
you.
No, we've seen you the whole time.
Yeah, I can see it on here too.
You're up on the
phone over here too.
Yeah.
So if I
On
unplug,
my end as fast as I could, but we're still, we've never lost the other iPad, just the main one that we could.
okay. All right, maybe we recovered, I don't know. Electronics, the digital world. Let's all get electric cars and electric everything. We'll be in good shape.
I think Joe wanted to. Yes, Joe's.
Okay,
ready.
Joe, go ahead.
So we're in discussion.
Yep.
I wanted to comment, during public comment, because I use the road for specific purposes. I wanted to comment on the people going into, Brian, your street. It would make more sense if I lived in Cobblestone to go up your street and come in the back way. So that traffic, there's got to be more Cobblestone people going in their back way. Why would you want to drive all the way to their front entrance, go in and come back to their houses? Why would anybody that lives in Timber Ridge want to go out through Cobblestone just to get on the 59? So that doesn't make any sense either.
Go to Hickory Ridge.
So their traffic that you're talking about has to be all Cobblestone traffic. I come through from Hickory Ridge only because I visit my family. And I don't see lots of cars pouring through there. When they're in construction during building sites, there are trucks and vehicles there, but they're working in that Cobblestone subdivision. I don't see much traffic in Timber Ridge. So there's multiple subdivisions in Highland Township. They do not have sidewalks. People walk all the time. So you have to keep your eyes open. You have to be careful where you're walking. We don't have sidewalks everywhere.
We only have the one sidewalk that runs up the main drag, and that's it. It doesn't go up our street, it doesn't go down to the cul-de-sac.
So it doesn't make any sense to me that Cobblestone is worried about traffic when the majority of their vehicles are from their own subdivision.
Right.
I can't believe the traffic coming in through that egress, let's call it east to west, it's got to be from Cobblestone coming in, because they don't want to drive all the way to their main entrance, come back all the way up to get to their areas, their homes. So I don't really see logic there in closing for that reason.
It's now private roads.
Yes, Jennifer.
Beth, most of our developments, subdivisions in Highland, we required them to have sidewalks. Why does this one not, doesn't it have pathways though?
This subdivision was developed with an internal pathway system, which the planning commission, maybe unwisely, allowed to substitute for sidewalks. And
Is that a pathway that your neighborhood can use?
Which one we talking about?
I don't know.
Ours is pretty much, when we started, we had a pretty cool pathway, but it's kind of overgrown now. And I know they tried over in Cobblestone, you go down a little ways and it's like up, kind of goes up over the hill. But the meaning to go back there for years, just kind of curious what it looks like. But there's not many pathways at all through the sub over there. So there's some signs.
Yeah.
There's really not many pathways. There's a few here and there, but not getting around.
And people have been stopped and asked if they live in that zone.
Right. I never been asked.
So has there been any survey of Cobblestone residents driving east to get out through Timber?
There's been no traffic surveys that we know of.
So that's the big unknown. I never see lots of cars driving through there when I go through.
Right.
I don't go through every day. I visit my family. Okay. And I don't see anybody cutting through Cobblestone just to get the M59. That doesn't make any sense either, because by the time you get out M59, you're a long way down.
I'm sure there are a few, I'm sure there are a few cars from our sub that do go to Hickory Ridge. I know my son used to when he went to school, because he was definitely afraid of, he wanted to go down Lone Tree with the Jeep, and he was definitely afraid of the whole 59 thing. So he'd go down, take the left, he'd go down Hickory Ridge. It was easier for him. I say, come on, man, take 59. But he didn't like it. But I'm sure there are a few that go out that way, as that's what's kind of the whole plan when we moved in. Yeah, it's nice to go. If you're coming down Hickory Ridge and you're coming home, it is nice not to go down and do all the turnarounds. But it's very rare. No, that's a good point, Joe. Thanks.
Well, I think one of the things that, like I said, the original intent, which is obvious by the design, was to connect. There wasn't any original intent of gating the community that I'm aware of. It's not in any of the documents that I've read. So I think that you kind of have to go by design. Pretty much dictates intent, and the design was to connect those together. And I'm pretty sure the intent was probably for safety purposes. It does make sense to be able to, if something does happen, I know there's plenty of times where there's fires. Not a lot of fires, fortunately, in Highland, they're well taken care of, but you're not gonna let cars drive by on any of those subdivision streets, either Cobblestone or Timber Ridge, if there's a house fire. It's closed. And if there's an emergency, which can happen too, I mean, there's plenty of those. We have thousands of them a year, almost 2,000. So that's a lot of ambulance driving around in this community. So the odds are that that's going to happen. And even though there's a key for a gate and you can get through the gate, they're not going to blast through it with it. It's not designed to blast through with a truck or a vehicle because that's just going to destroy the vehicle. It's a lockbox. The lock's got to work. If the lock is frozen, what are you going to do? I mean, they're not perfect. Those boxes are actually designed to, to hold a key to a lock. That's all it is. So that lock has got to be perfect. And I don't know of any of them that are, especially if they sit there for a long period of time. But in one of the images that I did put up on the screen, which was supplied by somebody, I think from Cobblestone, what you saw was the gate at the subdivision in question, and it had a tremendous amount of snow piled in front of it. And when this snowstorm that we just had, because I'm thinking about this process, right? During this time, I'm going, geez, with that amount of snow, where's it going to get pushed? It's going to get pushed in front of that gate. And it's not going to get cleaned out. And if it does get cleaned out, it'll be cleaned out at what time or what date. And it's probably going to end up plugging up any of the, the little turnarounds. Somebody's going to have to invest money in a turnaround area for vehicles to be able to turn around. Fire trucks are going to have a lot more access than they have right now to be able to make that back up and chicane to get out of there. It just is going back to March of 2019. My thinking wasn't developed. There's been a lot of time spent, a lot of comments, a lot of people that are involved in this, and that's what the whole purpose of this is to let's pull out all the pieces to see what really makes the most common sense to do here. And I'm not saying that people that live in Cobblestone don't have rights to, their private road. But one thing I think I need to make clear is that the private road was a tool that was used for development. It was a tool that was used so they didn't have to build roads to county spec. And steeper angles, ditches being different, water flow. So a whole bunch of things that made that possible. So when you live in Timber Ridge, when it's time to replace your pavement, you're all going to pay for it. Exactly the same as a private road is going to pay for it. So the county does not come in and replace the road. It's all charged to the homeowner. So it's the same type of thing. So at that point, there'll have to be a special assessment, which ironically is to the benefit of the public road. You have a way to be able to get a loan to be able to improve your site. Where with the private road, the individuals are totally responsible to find the money in a private way. In other words, they're not going to get the county to give them a favorable interest rate over a 10 or 20-year period. They're going to have to bank it all themselves. And that's what you got people from Cobblestone had to do. And I can understand, how that's a major expense. But the irony is that it was the developer that set this up. It was the developer that sold you the property, the image, whatever it is you want to call it. And that developer is responsible for designing that property the way it is. And at no point was there ever a conversation or an approval of a gate at that spot. So I think that's the position we kind of have to take is the plans and the prints don't lie. They tell the story. And so I know some people are not going to be happy with that kind of a thought process, but there's a much bigger picture here. There's a community picture here. Somebody made a comment earlier about, I don't know exactly how it went, but getting along, it's a community level of things. When we start dickering between subdivisions, you start creating, we have enough negative baloney going on in our lives right now with all the stuff that's happened with our politics at a federal level and our issues with COVID and not being able to do what we all want to do. We've had enough of that. And then to have your local community start splitting itself apart over this is, I'm private and I'm not, and you're not, and you don't belong in my, that kind of stuff just goes bad. And I think that the beauty of Highland is that as a majorly general rule, that doesn't exist until now. And this is sad to me that we would even approach it or have it come to that level. So I'm very uncomfortable with that. I'm comfortable that the developer did what they were going to do, and that was combine the roads together. Why they put a boulevard in there, I have no idea.
Place the sign. Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
So I have concerns that there's only one inlet and outlet for Timber Ridge of over 100 homes. Safety issues for emergency vehicles, school buses, mail and garbage, snow removal. Originally approved 20 years ago, private and public roads were discussed and the planning commission required unrestricted public access. And that the township did not approve Foxfield Gate. And they have Foxfield actually has a secondary exit, correct? A gravel road? Oh, Huntwood, sorry. So those are my concerns.
Anybody else?
Call for a vote. And am I allowed to vote?
Well, do you want to pursue this motion or do you want to withdraw the motion?
What is your motion again, please?
The motion was to approve the
No,
request.
there's no reason to
Withdraw.
withdraw it. You vote on it.
Just clarify.
I have a
yes.
question. No, I'm done. I'm done.
So please restate the motion clearly.
Okay, the motion was essentially to approve the installation of a gate at a public-private boundary on Pine Bluffs Court between Cobblestone and Timber Ridge to close the road to through traffic.
Should we ask Lisa if Brian can vote?
Am I allowed to vote?
He's in the subdivision.
There's
no
no financial gain, so.
I mean, can you be fair in your decision as
Oh,
far
yeah.
as the township board?
For sure.
I mean, if probably, you're right, it should be disclosed, which you've disclosed.
Which I do, yeah, I live there.
And unless anybody has any objection with you participating, I don't see any legal
Okay.
reason why you would have to.
Thank you. So I'm fine either way, and I can, whatever you say. You're the legal mind.
Sometimes.
Let's vote.
All right, are we ready to vote?
Yep.
Give me a second here.
That's enough folks that walk around out there.
Wait for him.
Oh, I know.
Before we go any further, I want to try and get this thing back up and running, so if I can do this.
Recording in progress.
Not that.
Blah, 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 blah.
I don't think that's a good idea.
That's not it. Echo,
Enough of
please.
that. We're just gonna have to live with a screwed up video, that's all. we're just doing. Hold on, all right. Need my composure here. Oh, please.
Are we ready to vote? All right, the motion is to approve the installation of the gate.
So a
Everybody
yes would
understand
be
that?
an approval.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, no.
Clerk Flowers votes no. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, no?
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, no.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes no.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, no.
Mr. Hamel.
Mr. Hamel votes no.
Motion does not carry.
Is there another motion?
No.
Nope, that was it.
Oh,
You need another motion, otherwise it's unfinished business.
so a motion to deny.
Okay. I need to make a motion. I didn't realize that part. I knew there was something. Okay, formality here. I make the motion to deny the request for revision of use requiring special approval 21-02, parcel 11-20-278-00. Applicant property owner Cobblestone Condominium Association request installation of the gate at the public-private road boundary on Pine Bluffs Court between Cobblestone and Timber Ridge to close road to through traffic. Do I have a support? Cooper support?
Yep.
Okay, vote please.
Clerk Flowers votes yes.
Sylvia, yes.
Lewis, yes. Mr. Howe.
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Cooper, yes.
Frederick, yes.
Campbell, yes.
Motion carries.
I didn't know you had to do that.
I didn't know.
So Lisa, the reason we did that is we voted on what they asked us to.
If a decision is not made, it can continue to be brought to the board every meeting. That's why a decision needs to be made, because then it remains unfinished.
So denied.
By making a decision,
Approve,
you
okay.
finalize the decision, so.
Even though we denied it.
It wasn't a
it's still
decision.
kind of hanging out there, in a sense.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So this is done.
No,
Yeah,
it's done. It's done.
It's done.
Hey, can we call for a few minute recess?
Yes.
I want to get stretch my legs.
And if you guys would like to book out of here, you can.
No, no.
Oh, sorry. You might want to try.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Recording.
Okay, we resume the meeting.
Rick, before
Yes.
we fully get going again, but while it's being recorded, there was a question in chat about the last item about something procedural about the building of the gate prior to the stop order. I don't know if you can address that or if you can ask Lisa or something along those lines.
Beth, you might have an answer on that.
What's the question?
The question is, there's some question about the procedural, something or other about building the gate. When they started building it, they went ahead and put the posts up. When did that?
Who's responsible for moving those posts?
The building official could address that Monday, I suppose.
We'll have our building official address it on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day.
The next available day.
He'll address it.
They're working on that too.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so
So,
okay, so Michael Sveska to everyone, the posts are on private property. I guess,
What are the issues with the posts?
I don't know if there's an issue or not. If they're on private property, it doesn't matter whether you leave them or not.
The structure.
Huh?
It's a structure and probably not in conformance with the site plan.
Okay, our attorney says it's a structure, and probably not in conformance with the site plan. That would be the point. So
Not, we're talking.
I'm not gonna, at this point, I don't think we need to make any more comments about this or go Let's let the posts chill out for a while, I think is the best
They've been
thing.
there for a long time.
Yeah, nobody's, we'll just leave the posts out of it. We'll figure it out at a much later date. And thanks, Michael, for asking. And sorry for the interruption on this thing. Came back, lucked out, I guess. Kudos to Zoom for being able to keep it rolling, and my co-host Justin, our technology guru. Thank you. So next item, where are we?
11A, I believe.
11A. This is an introduction. Okay, so this is the introduction of zoning amendment Z025, an ordinance to amend the Charter Township of Highland zoning ordinance by revising Article 4 district regulations to amend use list for RM, multiple family residential zoning district, Article 6, special land use procedures and standards to eliminate the requirement for public hearing before the Board of Trustees, Article 8, general provisions to amend rules about generators, and Article 9, district-specific regulations to remove redundant intent statement. So these came about. Beth, you want to describe this stuff?
This is basically staff generators, housekeeping for the most part. They're cleaning up some discrepancies between the building code and the zoning ordinance is one of the items for the generator. Another is just the others are procedural matters. Our ordinance is a little more cumbersome with the process for special use permit than required by state law. By changing the process to eliminate public notice for something like this, so that it can go straight to the planning commission to you without 6 weeks delay to do the public notice and the expense of the public notice. Adding the houses is a very specific events to our end is to deal with case like you had a rezoning recently on South Milford Road, where the intent was really to allow them to build 2 single-family homes, and in the district, the intent was RM, but our ordinance allowed it for years and years and years, and we took it out in the last go around, so we're just putting that option back in place. So they're pretty much this housekeeping.
So do we just need a motion to introduce?
Yep, motion there.
I move to introduce zoning amendment Z025, an ordinance to amend the Charter Township of Highland zoning ordinance.
Support, Powell.
Moved and supported. Vote, please.
Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Mr. Hamel, yes.
motion carries.
So we can only introduce it at this meeting, and we have to wait till the next meeting to make a decision.
The clerk will publish in the newspaper. It has been introduced and identified as a public hearing, or the to be considered.
Thank you.
Oh.
I will move to introduce zoning amendment Z026 to rezone parcel 11-21-426- Vacant Enterprise Drive 16.23 acres from current zoning of C2 General Commercial Zoning District to IM Industrial Manufacturing Zoning District for the property owner, Tippecanoe Properties.
Support.
Okay, moved and support.
Are you gonna have some discussion on this?
Yes. I'm trying to do it right. Right. That is the parcel to the east of the lift, what used to be 59 West, to the north of Salvation Army, that open section of land. Let me see if I can.
It's not worded.
West of the cemetery.
Forget that thing.
Is that where the pipeline goes through?
West of the cemetery?
There's a whole plot of land with a pipeline.
The
Is it
pipeline
next-
runs up.
backs up to the
back
pipeline,
wall.
that's 3 times.
Yeah, I just wonder if that's. the same.
This parcel.
I don't know.
The south front boundary line is about where the old Midway store was, and then it goes north. There's a tree line and a dramatic drop in topography. You keep heading a little bit north of there, and you get the south edge of industrial park.
Okay,
That
all right.
Stop that.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
Side property.
Let me see if I can share this because
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd like to give just a little bit of feedback or observations on this one.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah. The applicant requested rezoning to IM. It's a about 16-acre parcel. He has a purchase agreement with Shide Properties for the northern 6 ± acres to connect it to the industrial park, specifically for the purpose of building a similar building and being brought into those bylaws and all that. So the planning commission did not vote on the requested rezoning. They offered an alternative rezoning and voted on a recommendation to rezone the section that Shide wants to attach to the condo and leave the rest alone. And you'll see all the reasons articulated in the
this won't do any good.
planning commission minutes.
Okay.
You have 2 alternatives in front of you. You have to decide which one you want to introduce.
Well, we've already introduced one
No, you just made a motion.
and a second. Oh, and a second, that doesn't finish
You haven't
it?
voted on anything,
Got
so you
you.
haven't said anything.
Gotcha.
So the motion that I made was for the whole parcel.
Right.
Yeah. 16.
So if you just go forward with that parcel as recommended, or as you read, the request.
The applicant's request is what you read, which is the entire parcel.
If you want to go more conservatively with the planning commission's recommendation, we need to know that you're introducing the alternate ordinance.
6+ acres.
So that there are 2 ordinances in your packet, and if you look at the, what do you call the word?
As
The background.
requested or watermark.
The watermark, one is as requested,
Oh,
which is.
I didn't even
the
notice
applicant
that.
Requested, and one is as recommended, which is the recommendation.
You notice
of the
that?
planning commission.
As requested was the watermark.
I never even saw that part, but in the property description, you'll see that it says for the one the planning commission recommended, it says the north 502 feet would be okay to go IM, and then the southern half would remain the same. So I guess
I made the motion. Is it my decision?
Well, for your motion, and then
Yeah,
everyone
the
can vote
motion,
on it.
right. I'd like to leave it the way it is.
Which is
Right.
using the draft that has the watermark as requested.
requested.
Correct. This one.
Right. Yep. Look at my screen.
Okay, and did we have support on that?
I believe so. We have
I support
support.
it.
Okay, so the discussion then on that is the planning commission, of course, looked at it, thought about it. I don't know why they decided they felt that they could leave half of it. There was a conversation about how it would affect the cemetery. Well, it only touches the cemetery on a corner point. How it would affect the C2 or commercial. And I think that just as an example, the property owner has developed IM properties in Highland before, and at Alloy Drive and Wardlow Road, and the building that he built and designed is every bit as nice as any commercial building we have in this community. And so IM doesn't preclude a decent looking facility. And but what it does do, it allows for more opportunity to be able to actually occupy and use that property. And I think that anything you might get in there is going to be a bonus to any of the commercial businesses that are there. The grocery store would love to see some more activity. I mean, on that same property, you could have, you could have a C2 based business like a tractor dealership that, or some other project like that fits in C2, but at the same token, it also could be done in IM. So these other commercial things could happen in that same parcel of property. So I don't see why we should limit it or cut that line in half. I don't think it's like beaten up on the master plan by any shake, so my personal opinion is I think we should go with the whole piece as I am.
I felt the same way after.
Any other discussion on that? Beth, you were involved in that discussion.
After reading it again, I'm kind of leaning towards leaving it the way it is, just for the reasons you mentioned. I thought you brought up some really good comments, especially about the fact that he's developed other own properties in the building with the.
Okay, anybody else have any?
This is as requested.
As requested. So the motion is to approve or to introduce the zoning amendment to rezone parcel. I got the right one, don't I? Yes, 11-21-426-014. Vacant on Enterprise Drive, 16.23 acres from the current zoning of C2 General Commercial Zoning District to IM Industrial Manufacturing Zoning District for the property, owner Tippecanoe Properties. So it was moved and supported. No further discussion. Then we'll vote.
All right, Mrs. Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe?
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick?
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia?
Salvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel?
Mr. Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Next item is removed, so we'll move on to item D. Jenny, I'm going to let you take that one.
Okay, I move to accept CTI contractor service bid for windows replacement at 205 West Livingston Road, which is the Activity Center Annex. And this is,
Oh, sorry, support.
okay,
All
that's
right.
it, yep. I was just gonna say CDBG funds, but I can explain that
Okay.
when we go to discussion.
Okay, discussion then.
So I think it was back in October, we went out for bids for windows. We used CDBG funds to replace 10 windows at 205 West Livingston. It's a historic building. I had to do the whole historic review. And then we only got one bid. And since then, so we were talking with Rick and the building official to see what we should do, if there's any more options. But with CDBG, you have to pay prevailing wages. And so we really finally just decided that this was the best way to go. And windows have gone up 11% as of February 1st. So I guess in my motion, can I amend my motion to include not to exceed 25,000?
Yes, if that's what you want to do.
Will you second that?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was it. Any questions?
Hallelujah.
Mm,
Awesome.
I know.
Yeah, the windows in that building were really cheap wood ones that were put in before, and you could probably push them out of the wall. And it needs to be, we need to take care of that building. It's a valuable building. So if there's no further discussion, then we'll vote.
Okay. Mr. Howe?
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick?
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia?
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Hamel?
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, so if you read the story that I wrote for this next item, which is to, I'll call it a rehire Carrie Little Bear. The number, well, I guess, was it my first term or second term that we hired Carrie? First term. Had a young lady that we hired for our building department. And became a very popular person and with the people that came in, and she took over Bridget Patterson's position, did an awesome job with it, got along with everybody in the building. And as I put in there, she got married and then it changed her path. So she headed south to Texas. Things didn't work out down that way, so she came back to Michigan. Of course, her job was not there anymore. And I guess it's been a little over a week ago. She called up because she had heard that there was an opening, and I said, well, that's opening's been filled. And she said, she said, I really enjoyed it here. I really would like to, do something with my degree, which is planning. And I said, we have a individual who is a contract person that we hired from Carlisle Wortman. And part of the reason for hiring a contract person was that I've never felt that we had the right mix in the zoning administrator's office. I conferred with the in-house officials. I conferred with other employees, with Beth, with Lisa, who would be working with her. Lisa's the current zoning administrator. And in a conversation with Lisa, Lisa's been there for 40, how many years? 43 years. And she keeps saying that she's thinking about retiring, but she's not sure when. But I think the key is that she knows that it's going to be sooner than later. So it seemed an intelligent move to bring somebody in to that position and take advantage of her aggregate knowledge. And she's got a lot of stuff up there that I wish I could pull it out like she pulls it out. And so the intent is to hire Carrie as, in this case, we could call it co-administrator or zoning administrator, but to hire as a zoning administrator. She'll be the person responsible. Lisa will be there to support her and hold her up when she needs to and help her with that aggregate knowledge to fill in the blanks. And I think that everybody in the building that I mentioned this to are all excited in the same way. It's like, yeah, that's the person we need in there. So it's one of those things where a phone call sometimes turns into something you didn't anticipate. So I'd like to make the motion that we hire Carrie Little Bear to take on the role of zoning administrator. Her position will be full-time at an hourly rate of $22 per hour. Her start date may commence upon or shortly after her approval by the board. The contract labor position will no longer be necessary. And the other part is that it'll be cost neutral.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Any discussion? Yeah.
So we won't be using the Carlisle Wortman person anymore?
No.
The Carlisle Wortman person would be on staff in the office with normal office hours. We still use them from time to
Right,
time.
for a
Like a
consultant.
regional
Right.
plan or something like that. And if we had a special project, we needed mapping or something.
But he won't be filling hours.
You were right.
No.
Okay.
No more office hours.
Thank you.
Oh, I have a question too.
Yes.
It seems like I remember back when we were gonna hire the Carlisle Woodman person as to fill in, that people did say, well, it'd be nice to have an actual kind of employee doing that. if I'm not
Yep,
mistaken.
yep.
So this is a win situation for everybody.
Yep. So say at least she's really excited that she said, should I tell him should I tell my employer that I'm got a new job? I said, don't do anything until we take it to the board. Don't get too excited. So I think this will be a great thing. This will be a good thing to move forward. So vote, please.
All right, Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yeah.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes, Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis, Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Carla.
Just so you know, that other employees, Carlisle Wortman, those have been reassigned.
Oh, he won't be in tomorrow? He won't be in tomorrow?
He'll be in next week.
Oh.
He'll be in until we tell him that summit.
Oh.
His job is still. He didn't play with him.
But that is part of the aspect of contract labor is it's not a permanent. Yep.
You budgeter, you.
Okay, so it's time to do the grant for the South Hickory Ridge property for the MDNR. I think that's where we're at. Yes. And Jennifer's done them in the past and Beth has done them in the past, but Beth and I have got so many irons in the fire that she says, why we can do this. This is a case where these guys have done them over and over again. My recommendation is to focus on these other projects that we need to get on, the broadband and sewer and maybe some water line extension, that type of thing. So I asked for a proposal from Carlisle Wortman. And so basically they've made the proposal to prepare that grant for us. And so I'd like to make the motion to approve Carlisle Wortman to prepare the MDNR grant for the 60 acres of land on South Hickory Ridge Road. And for a cost not to exceed $4,500. Okay, it's moved and supported. Any questions? All right, let's vote.
Mrs. Frederick? Frederick, yes. Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia?
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis? Mr.
Mr.
Howe?
Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel?
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Now we have one for Tammy to talk about.
We're coming up on audit time. And they're getting more and more complicated every year. They keep throwing more stuff on us. And so as in the last year or two, we're going to work with Plant Moran.
They be in the state of Michigan.
What's that?
They be in the state of Michigan.
Yes. Well,
And auditors.
and the GASB Governmental Accounting Standards Board, which is a national organization of accountants. So we have a proposal to work with Plant Moran again to help us take care of those more technical details in for audit preparation, so that we can make sure our audit is great.
We don't have a maximum amount here, right? It's just the hourly rate.
Right. The list is shorter than it was last year. We took a couple things off their list because last year we had several new things that they helped us with. And we took them back this year, back to our list. So it's a shorter list than last year.
What are our hours?
Do they normally give us a max?
Well, I couldn't.
I know, this one was, I kind of thought
The
it
things
too.
that we're having them do for us are not necessarily things that we could do for ourselves. Yeah.
Here, I got December.
What's the question over here?
I want to know what we paid last year.
Oops.
That is current.
It is current.
We paid 66,885.
For the audit.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
In 2021.
I think that included the PM gap stuff,
The what?
this PM gap.
Oh, okay.
We put it all in the same line.
Yeah, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Is their
Right.
proposal still good?
Yes, it is.
This is
They
a
just
new one.
emailed it to me Tuesday. I asked them to hurry up and do it so we could get it in time for the agenda, and they pulled, and it's got the wrong date on it.
Okay.
Just
it
so you
wasn't generated.
can.
It may be the original one she pulled it from was 2020, but it has been updated with our current list of to-do things for them.
And under the scope of services, they do reference a due date no later than February 14, 2022, so clearly.
Yeah.
And it says under property taxes, updating recorded financial results related to December 2021 tax levy. So it's funny how you can stare at something. I mean,
Yeah, I didn't even
unless
look at the date.
it comes and whacks you in the forehead, you know.
Well, and then just funny because you said you've been talking to them for a couple of years. I'm like, oh, so they must have submitted one in 2020 and we didn't go with them. But then it was like, oh, wait a minute.
No.
This is the one.
I think they've been helping us. I don't know if this is the second or third year that we've.
It's at least the third, I think.
Third year.
because
Yeah.
Last year, yeah.
All of my communities use them every year.
They're good.
Yeah,
Okay, so
so I will make a motion to approve the supervisor to sign this agreement. Anything else I need?
Super support.
no, wait a second, does the supervisor sign it or did you sign it?
No,
It's got Highland Township, Tammy Flowers.
Oops, well, we'll change that, but you're gonna sign it. And Judy seconded.
I sign everything.
Right.
Work.
Right.
Okay, so moved and supported. Vote please.
All right, Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick, yes. Mr. Hamel.
Yeah, okay, I'll sign it. Yes.
All right.
Screwball. Okay,
11H.
I'm gonna give Tammy this one too. This next one belongs to the fire department, but it's a proposed program for COVID absences in the fire department. Now, Tammy, you want to describe it, or Chief, do you want to describe it? I mean,
Let me do it.
okay, because I watched an email chain that went a mile and a half.
Okay, so the firefighters have been using their own PTO even when they get COVID, since their expiration of the time period when workers' comp used to cover it. Okay, and they asked us to take a look at it and see what we could do. There's really not room in the fire department budget for this additional expense. So this is the kind of thing that we could spend ARPA money on, because it's a short-term thing. It's not an ongoing, we're gonna only provide this COVID sick pay during the time period where ARPA money can be spent. And then once the money's gone and the time period is expired, the program ends. And who knows what happens with COVID, but this is what we're proposing.
Is the absentee caused because they are tested for COVID and therefore become quarantined, or are they physically sick?
No, sir, it's a positive test for COVID.
So they're okay, but they stay home.
Well,
just asking.
some people get sick, some people don't.
It's an important thing. So if the pandemic goes away or the mandates are lifted, that might change the scenario.
Correct.
Okay.
So the two qualifying events, in order for us to kick in and pay for their PTO time, is they have to have a positive PTO, positive COVID test, and they are required to not work. Okay, so that requirement may come from the CDC, it may come from the state or the county, or it may come from chief's policies or our policies here. The key factor is they have a positive result and they are required to stay home.
Chief, I have a quick question. Is that the normal, I think it's a 5-day quarantine period now?
Yes.
That's the day. Okay, thank you.
Question.
Yes.
Is there art money that's dedicated to the fire department, or is it's just dedicated to the township and you decide how to divvy it up?
We decide
Okay.
as a board.
Okay.
And actually, this is one of the things we're deciding right now, is that we would use ARP money for this. So it's like a board decision that, and that's why it's.
And right now it's up to 22,000 is what we're willing to spend.
Do we know how much were allotted for the ARP grant?
Yeah, so it's 2 million, 2.1.
Okay.
And we've already got half, the first tranche. That's what they're called.
So the board knows what's going on. Jennifer and Tammy and I have been working on Jennifer put together a spreadsheet to look at what our proposals are for use of the ARP money. And then when we get that detailed out, then we'll bring it to the board for approval to spend. So we've done a couple of motions. One was the 20 some odd thousand, 25,000 for the bus, which would be paid for with ARP money. And then this would be one that would be 22,000 or something like
And
that.
then 27 for the broadband.
And then broadband was the 27. So anyways, I guess any other questions on this?
Joe wanted to know who would be testing them.
Okay, that was my question.
Yeah.
You can. I'm not.
How come there's no paper towel?
I just didn't know who's the.
Yeah, they have.
A positive PCR test, so any place that provides PCR test.
Probably like urgent
I
care.
just wondered where they.
Okay, so
I don't know if the board's curious, but I'm curious. Do any of the firefighters, do they discuss COVID and they do paperwork, or are they allowed to work from home?
No, that's the whole thing.
You can't work.
They can't work from home as a firefighter.
Well, some of them do reports and things.
Oh,
I mean, they're not every minute, they time to follow.
We don't do any good.
If something like Canada or somebody's doing reports and stuff, is he allowed to work from home?
I'm sorry?
If like a captain's doing reports and stuff, is he allowed to work from home? If he's tested positive with COVID?
and get paid,
Like, hey,
and get paid.
I would have to set up a whole program for them to do. Their job is emergency response.
Appreciate that. I'm curious too, you mentioned that they had, so far they've had to use CTO time. What happens when they run out of that time? Will they get paid?
That's the.
They don't pay it off.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So we can make, if we are so inclined, we can move to provide this benefit retroactively so that people in the past year that had to use PTO, we can reimburse their
I don't know,
PTO
I
if you
don't
guys
have
want
that.
us to out of this money.
So do we just
So-
need a
We should cover
motion?
whatever we need to cover in terms of make sure there's nobody that's lost out because
They're
of.
frontline.
Yeah, it's important, and it's important to take care of them, so there's no doubt, and it's the same for whatever, yeah.
I would like to add that a considerably high percentage of our run volumes are COVID or COVID related.
Right.
Incidents nowadays, there's guys being exposed, both my full-time and paid on call guys, almost every day. Rick Ruder running about 2,000 runs. Last year we ran 1,754 runs. That is a huge increase over the last couple of years. Yeah, these guys are exposed regularly, so I appreciate the.
I wish you could never take.
How are you doing for
Everybody
backup
left out.
when somebody's off for 5 days? Who's the backup? You got backup on that?
You see that dog over there? That's the backup.
We have other employees are have that authorized overtime both on both sides. We do what we have to operate in a safe manner, so.
Okay.
I want to go on record, I say we do whatever. we want.
You got some language there you'd like
Can I-
to?
I can try to draft.
No, I'm
a
good.
motion. Okay. I would move to provide sick pay for fire department employees who contract COVID and are required to stay home up to 5 days to cover the shifts that they were scheduled to work. And this would apply retroactively to those who have not received workers' comp.
Frederick second.
And the timeframe.
And this will expire when the ARP program expires. And we are proposing a budget of 22,000 at this time. If the money, if we spend all that, and we need more, we'll come back to the
We
board.
have to set a back date, like where it goes, how far it goes back? or how-
No, because they covered it up to January 31st, was it?
Well, it was for COVID.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. There's
It's
supposed to-
within COVID, so there was a
Cutoff
cutoff
for
when
workers'
workers'
comp.
comp stopped
Gotcha, okay.
paying for it.
March 23rd.
Oh.
Okay, so I made a motion and you said you seconded? it?
Yeah, Frederick second.
Okay.
And it was
What was-
retroactive,
That's right.
22,000 cap and,
Spent within the ARPA plan.
Okay.
Time
Yep.
frame.
and based on health department.
Using ARPA funds.
Covering scheduled shifts.
Yes, and
We
she,
had all
okay,
that.
she had all those in there, okay.
All right, so
Any discussion?
I guess we could vote on that one. That would, unless somebody else has more questions. All right, let's vote.
All right, Mr. Salvia,
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howe, yes?
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel,
Hamel, yes.
Questions?
Who was your second?
Jenny, Mrs. Frederick,
Jenny.
you know.
She's Jenny number one, but she was the second in this case.
He's tired.
All right. The
Seems
next one can be, Ken can
I was
explain.
gonna say, I've
Aye.
been 2 for years, so.
Okay, Ken, the next item is Fire Station 2 construction exclusions.
When we built Fire Station 1, there were certain items that were excluded from the contract with Partners in Architecture and Access Construction. Some of those exclusions were access controls, security cameras, the passcodes to get into the building, security cameras on the outside, furniture like you see in through here, plus through the rest of the station, alerting system and controls, and then low voltage cabling. In order to maintain continuity between this building and the next building, and because the process went through a bid process to select the bidders for this one, I'm requesting we use the following bidders for Fire Stations 2's project. Redford Lock and Key, they've already bid out the project not to exceed $32,852.20. That'll provide all the digital access controls for entrance, digital access controls for staff, camera security and reporting for the building. Also Partner House, they'll provide all the furniture for the fire station not to exceed $8,500. And then ISCG, which is another furniture they're receiving not to exceed $5,100. There's one other item in there, and that's the alerting system for the station. Oakland County controls the radios for our communications with Oakland County Dispatch. We're using a radio system that designates called the Open Sky radio system. It's an antiquated, frequently issued systems. They are in the process of upgrading to a new statewide Motorola system. Because of the system we have now, and not a lot of agencies really working with it anymore, because of the new system coming in, we're recommending to have Kurt Vector, who's actually an Oxford firefighter, but he sits on Oakland County's radio control board. He knows what's coming out. He's been involved with it from the beginning. He also sits on the CST team, which is the communication specialty team that travels with the IMT team anywhere they're deployed to. He has a kernel knowledge of the system and how it operates and how to best set our station up for alerting and monitoring of the radio, not only for the current system, but for the next system. So we're requesting to have the right to waive
Board
process.
board policy.
And do the alerting system for Fire Station 2. That'll be $25,000. The last item on there is a low voltage, which we didn't go up to bid for, which and that's what the supplier supplied the chairs.
I think, yeah, Partner House.
Need some nicer chairs. My office. I got a really nice chair. Yeah, I bet. This is why you're the chief.
These are training room chairs.
They should be.
I'm awake. I'm awake.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. we need a
All right,
motion.
so this is an interesting motion. I might have asked for assistance on this. I think the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a motion that the board approve waiving board policy to move forward on all these items. So that'd be my first motion,
I second.
and we'll ask for a vote on that.
All right.
Repeat that again, I'm sorry.
I'm moving to
Waive the
waive
Okay.
purchasing policy, board purchasing policy.
All right, you ready?
Okay, vote.
Mrs. Lewis. Mr. Howe.
How votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick.
Mrs. Frederick, yes.
Clerk Bowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia.
Sylvia, yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so then what we'll try and do is see if I can make this in one motion. What?
Yes, yes.
So I'm gonna make the motion that we approve the vendor Red Lock and Security for digital access control and other items as listed, not to exceed $32,852 and some change, 20 cents. That we approve Partner House for furniture for station number 2, not to exceed $8,500. That we approve ISCG not to exceed $5,100 for day room seating. That we approve Kurt Fetcher, I'm gonna say not to exceed $25,000 for station emergency alerting and station radio monitoring. And we probably better do this other thing in another motion.
Yes, the other one's.
So that's the motion.
Support.
Okay, moved and supported. Vote, please.
No, I have discussion.
Oh, discussion.
Yes, please.
Oh,
So,
sneak that in there.
well, the first 3 were vetted already and we've used them. Who is, I know Mr. Fetcher's a firefighter.
He
And
also works for Digital Global. This is, he sells alerting systems and everything else on the side.
I mean, 25,000 is just a lot for a person that we don't know or a company that we don't know.
Maybe I can get
You need
references.
to, everybody needs to speak up. We just gotta text it. People can't hear it very well.
I can provide references for Mr. Factor. He just did the project over in Brighton area fire. Because of his skill set, because of his knowledge, because of everything that he brings to the table, being with Oakland County communications team and everything else, he was the logical choice for us because he can work with both systems. He's familiar with learning systems and he can set the system up to best suit us for whatever system we go with.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, we'll vote.
All right. Mr. Howe.
Mr. Howe votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper.
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick.
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia.
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis. Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
I'm gonna lose this machine again here in a minute. So we gotta hurry this up.
Well, if you lose it, we're going home.
Okay, next item. We gotta speed through this. We're gonna just speed it. Where was I?
So is this Jay?
The next item is, no, there's another part to this fire thing.
Oh, not yet,
Oh,
later.
Not yet.
okay, budget amendments.
Yeah, this one, the first one is to move money around to support the Carrie Little Bear hiring, which we already approved.
I make a motion to approve the budget amendment as presented for the planning department.
Support. Howe.
Any questions? Okay, Mrs. Cooper.
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick.
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia.
Sylvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis. Mr.
Mr.
Howe.
Howe votes yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries. The next one is the new budget amendment, and that brings forward, we had originally approved ARPA money in last year's budget. And so we're bringing it forward into 2022 budget for WODA and
Fiber, the
yeah,
broadband.
the broadband. Okay, any questions on that?
So that's 25 and 27,000.
Yeah, for a total of 52.
All right, make
Do we
a,
need a motion?
Change that to add the 22 to it?
what?
Oh, Did we add the 22 to it for the fire?
No, we'll do that next time.
Okay. Good idea.
All right. Make them,
Well, it's fine.
we're good. We haven't spent it yet, so make the motion to approve the ARPA federal ARPA budget amendment. Okay, moved and supported. Vote please.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis, Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so now the fire low voltage.
Yeah.
This was, we had an RFQ let out. There were 2 responses. Net Solutions at $21,810.70 and Datacom Group for $17,290. This is essentially low voltage is pulling the wiring for through the building for all the computer networking and computers and everything. So you want to go with Datacom or what do we want?
My computer died, so I don't have it in front of me.
Okay, we're both losing here.
$17,290.
Yep, so I'll make a motion that we approve Datacom Group at not to exceed $17,290.
Support Cooper.
Okay, moved and supported.
Questions?
Questions? Vote?
Some question, why would we just round that thing?
Well, at least it wasn't 20 cents.
All right, are we ready to vote?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis, Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick votes yes.
Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Well, folks, we're going to go into closed session, so I'm going to make a motion to recess into closed session to consider the purchase of real property in accordance with MCL 15.268D.
We
Support
have to
it.
make a motion to go into closed session.
That's
I
what you just
did.
did.
Okay, all right, sorry, I'm doing like.
Support. Anybody?
Support.
Okay, we got support. Vote, please.
Closed session.
All right, I'm not ready. Mr. Salvia,
Salvia, yes.
Mrs. Lewis, Mr. Howe,
Mr. Howell votes yes.
Mrs. Cooper,
Cooper, yes.
Mrs. Frederick,
Frederick, yes.
Mrs. Clerk Flowers votes yes. Mr. Hamel.
Hamel, yes.
Motion carries.
So we just shut everything on.
All right, so we're going into closed session, which
Thanks, Matt.
means we'll stop the recording.
Who seconded that motion?
Me.
Oh,
Brian Howe.
Actually, we want to cancel that. We're going to pause. We boom the okay, so
We are back.
we're back in. Hey, look at that. I can see myself now. We're back in regular session. And then we need to make a motion to adjourn.
I would move to adjourn the meeting.
Okay,
We don't have to do a motion to adjourn. We never. Just like every other meeting.
you don't have to. That's a Robert's rules thing, but we'll do it. Our attorney
Lisa's gonna
suggested.
do it, so do it.
And we don't have to make a motion about the closed session.
Judy moved. I'll support.
No, they're just in limbo.
Vote, please. Okay, we're gonna have a vote here.
All right, everybody in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for putting up with us. See ya.
So you don't have to come out of the meeting and then